Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to part two of my tutorial for the deployment assignment for the EZU project. In part two, we're going to make a couple more changes to the state of our project, our Django project, to get it ready for deployment. And in part three, we're going to actually do the deployment. Okay? So, uh, item one, create a requirements file that can be used to control the virtual environment on the production server. Okay. So, what a lot of people do in order to control the the Python packages that get included in their virtual environment is that they create a file that they call requirements.txt. Okay, and we haven't been using that because we've been using Anaconda Navigator to control our virtual environment. Okay, so let's just take a peek at Anaconda Navigator, right? And take a look at our virtual environment that we've been using for EZU. Okay, so we brought up Anaconda Navigator. We're going to, over in this navigation panel, we'll click on environments. We'll find the environment that we're using here, E4EZU. Okay, we're going to click on it, and it's going to load all that stuff into the right hand panel. And we've got a lot of stuff here. I think we can probably see most of our stuff. We can even see Django, Django 3.1.6. Okay, alrighty. Now, are we sure that everything that's in our virtual environment is visible over here in this panel? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So here's how we can see what's in our environment. Okay, we can go over here to this panel, and right next to E4EZU is this triangle. So we'll click on that, and then we'll pick Open Terminal. Okay, and we have this. So what we've done is we have opened a command line window, and we have our Anaconda virtual environment properly set. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do. One of the things that you can do is you can say conda space list, and this will give you a list of everything that's here. That's pretty well comprehensive. But let's say that we wanted to create a list for the requirements of file. Okay. Well, we could just we could type the following: pip space freeze. Okay, and this it essentially it gives you the current requirements that you would have to use to build this virtual environment. Okay, that looks okay. Let's hold on to that. You know, actually, I think the last time I showed you guys how to do this, or I showed the class about how to do this, the last time I recorded this, I was copying and pasting the text from right here. But I want to show you how we can do this pip freeze from directly within PyCharm. Okay, so we're not going to have to do that. So I just wanted to show this show you all this was over here. Okay. And I'm going to close that window. And I'm going to close Anaconda Navigator, right? So when we install at Python Anywhere, we could use an Anaconda managed virtual environment over there. Or like everybody else who installs over there, we could use virtual env. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use virtual env, and to do that we need a requirements file. So we're going to get one. So let's get our instructions off of here, and let's show how we can get a we can get a requirements file over here. So first of all, where are we going to put the requirements file? Well, what most people do is they put it in this configuration directory here that's holding our settings right now, okay? And they often call it requirements.txt. Unfortunately, I've had bad experience with that in PyCharm. PyCharm is pretty highly automated, and as soon as it sees the requirements.txt, it wants to start to control the virtual environment. Okay, well, ours is already set up. Okay, and it just starts doing all these automatic things that I don't like. So we're going to put our requirements.txt in another file. In theory, you would need a requirements.txt for development and one for production. We don't need one for development because we're using the virtual environment that we built with Anaconda Navigator. Okay, so let's just, in this configuration directory, let's right click on the directory name and say that we want a new directory. Okay, and let's call that requirements. We're going to set this up just like we set up. Now, I don't know what I did there. I somehow lost that dialog by clicking the wrong way on my mouse. So new directory, requirements. Okay, there it is. And then inside of that, we want this to be considered a module. So we have to create within requirements this init file. So highlight requirements, right click, new Python file, and call it dunder init. That's how it knows that it should behave like a Python module. Okay. And what are we going to call the requirements? Well, I don't want to call them requirements.txt because I'm a little bit afraid that as soon as PyCharm finds some file in my hierarchy called requirements.txt, it's going to start trying to change my development environment. So I'm going to create in this requirements directory, I'm going to call this base.txt. So I'm going to new, it's just a file because it's a text file, and we're going to call it base.txt. Okay, so that's where that stuff's going to go. And if we had already cut and pasted the things that we got out of pip freeze, well, we could just paste them in here. But I just want to show you that you can do the pip freeze over here. How can you do it? Well, let's go down to the bottom and click on terminal. Okay, and it's opened up a command line dialog with the E4EZU activated, and we can just type in here pip space freeze. Okay, and we get the same stuff. Okay, so we don't want the prompt down here or the prompt up there. We just want the data in between. Okay, so we're going to highlight them, right click and choose copy, and then we're just going to paste them into base.txt. And that's it. Okay, so we're going to use that when we get to the server to build a virtual environment using the more traditional virtual environment tool, virtual env. Okay, because we know that's fully supported over on Python Anywhere. Okay, so that's it. Now, can we test this on our development machine? Not easily. Okay, we'll test it when we do the deployment, and if it's broken, then in part 3 we'll fix it. Okay. All right. So we clicked off of that. Those things are all done. It looks like we have finished item 1. Now, what's item 2? Check that our project is under version control using Git, and that we have proper settings in our git ignore file. So git ignore, let's look at this. You're probably only going to see your git ignore file over here in your navigation panel if you've got hidden files turned on. Let's see, if I turn off hidden files, will that go away? No, we seem to see it either way. All right, so you should have this. So when you put your project under version control, you should have added a git ignore. Okay, if you look at git ignore, I've got one here. How did I come up with the things that are going to be ignored and not put under version control? I started with the one from the Django Girls tutorial. Now, the Django Girls tutorial has one more file on this, and that's our database, DB SQLite3. So it doesn't keep the database under version control. I may have mentioned to you earlier that for my purposes in teaching this class, having different versions of the database that correspond to the very end of each of the assignments helps me with the courseware. Okay. Now, so the test database is under version control, and I'm going to leave it like that. What does that mean? Well, that means when I deploy, this is going to show up on the server. Okay. Do I really want my test database to show up on the server? No, we're not going to do that. I'll tell you why. A lot of times when you deploy to a server, you have an entire you're using another DBMS. You know, you're doing development with SQLite 3. You're doing production with MySQL. Okay, so in that case, you need to build the database from scratch when you get to the server. So even though we don't have to, we're going to build the database from scratch when we get to the server. Okay, because if you were deploying to a proper relational database, you'd have to do that. So even though we're going to continue to use SQLite 3, we'll act like we're using a new database. Okay, so this git ignores exactly like I'd like it to be. Okay, and before I do the deployment, okay, which would be like at the end of this part two, I have to make sure that I commit all of my changes from part two so that all those things are committed and we need to push them up to the remote repository so that when we install off of the remote repository, we're going to get all the changes that we made in part two. Okay, now that's the second part. What's the third part? Remove the test data migrations for students and instructors from the migrations chain. Okay. On a production server, we're not going to want to have test students and instructors. So we got to figure out how to get those out of there. Let's go explore that. Okay. So let's close this terminal because we're done with it. Okay. And let's open up a manage.py task. Okay. And let's begin with the show migrations. Okay. Let's see what the migrations are that we have and whether they're applied. So looks like everything's applied, including 1 through 7 in course info. Okay. All right, that's fine. Now, one of the things that's a little tricky is I want to not have applied 4 and 5. How can I do that? Well, here's what I can do. I can unapply 7, 6, 5, 4, okay? And then I can move these 4 and 5 out of here. And then I can link 6 to 3. And then I can apply the migrations, in which case, when I look at the show migrations, it's going to show as applied 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. And there will be no 4 and 5. Okay, let's go try to do that. Okay, so let's open migrations over here. Okay, I've got 1 through 7. That's fine. Now 4 and 5 I'm going to want to get rid of. Do I want to destroy them? No, I don't. Okay, so I'm going to create another directory under course info. And I'm going to right click, say new directory. And I'm going to call this archived migrations. And are they really archived? Well, this is my little archive, right? Okay, so that pops up here. And now I'm going to pick 4 and 5. Oh, I haven't done it yet. I forgot to back them out, didn't I? I did. Okay. Well, leave your directory there. We have to back them out first. You don't want to take them out of the chain before you back them out. All right, let's just do a show migrations again to get past any confusion that we can have about what's applied. I think they're applied 1 through 7. Okay. Now let's go back to 3. Migrate course info 0003. And it unapplied 7, 6, 5, and 4. Then let's do a show migrations. And there they are, 4, 5, 6, and 7 unapplied. All right, now let's get that back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, there we go. Now, let's close get ignore here. Now I can take my 4 load instructors and 5 load student test data, and I can pull each of those and drop them into the archived migrations, which are technically refactorings. And so it's going to move them up there. You have to acknowledge the refactoring. Am I done yet? No, I'm not, because If we look at the migration for 6, let's look at the migration for 6 and go down to the bottom. The dependency is pointing to 5. There is no 5. That's going to break it. So we're going to have to bring this text for 3 in here. Okay, so let's do that. So it's 3 underscore auto underscore 2021 0213 and 0126 and you don't put the .py on these. Okay, so we click off of that. That should work. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so let's come down here. That should be saved. And let's do a show migrations again. And of course, you're going to see 6 and 7 aren't applied. Okay, and let's apply them. Let's do them one at a time. Okay, so migrate course info 0006. It applied it. Very good. And then I'm just going to up arrow and change the number to 0007, and it applied it. Very good. Okay. Now, do you think the data in our application is okay? Well, I'm going to tell you that I don't think it is, because when we got rid of the groups, okay, when we backed out the groups, I think we lost the connection between users and groups. That's what I think happened. But let's just go look. Okay, let's fire up our development server with a run server. Okay, and let's bring up the browser. Here we go. And log in. Let's log in with tester. All right, and let's go up to admin. All right, well, we can log in fine. Well, let's look at users. Okay, and we've got some users who are connected to groups in order to get their permissions. That's true of the clerk, the registrar, and the scheduler. Okay. Let's see if they're currently connected to their group. So if we go to clerk and we go down, no, we lost that connection. Okay, so when we deleted the group, when we backed out the groups, well, it decided that instead of telling us no, that we couldn't do that, it just broke the relationship between this user and the group. So I think we're on clerk, okay, and clerk is a CI user, so that's fine, okay. And let's go to registrar, okay, and registrar is the CI registrar, okay, save that. And then let's go to scheduler, and scheduler is the CI scheduler. Okay. That's good. Now, everybody else should be okay because tester's a super user, sysadmin's a super user, and the coworker shouldn't be connected to any of our groups because he's another worker in our office who uses another app that's on that same server. So let's look. He's not connected to any groups, but he's not supposed to be. So that's fine. All right, so now if we go back to our application, let's do that. Go back to the application and let's log out. Okay. And let's just test one of those. Let's test scheduler. All right. Put in the wrong password. Okay, so the scheduler should be able to do everything on instructors, yeah, sections, yeah, courses, yeah, semesters, yeah, but not students. Can't create new students, can't create new registrations. Okay, that's set up okay, right? So, um, to tell you the truth, I'm a little bit happier that it just broke the relationship between the group and the users rather than saying that I wasn't able to back out the groups. Okay, it's actually less work for me, but I do have to remember that I've lost the connection to the groups. All right, that looks good. Let's close this and stop the server. And let's come back and see what else we need to do. To test the migrations as they'll be run in the production environment. I think, well, I think we could do that. Okay, I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Okay, what about 5? Test setting up users as they will be set up in the production environment. Okay, well, let's look at that too. Yeah, we really have to test both of those. So let's say how we could test this. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I am going to get rid of my database. Okay, I'm just going to delete it. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to commit all the changes that I have here because I'm going to want to go back, right? So let's do this. I use source tree to do my work, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm on EZU, so I'm going to open up that. And if I go to file status, you can see that I've changed a couple things, including the database. So I typically always uncheck this and recheck it to make sure that they're all checked, even things that have scrolled out of the window. Okay, and I'm going to commit that. So I'm going to say I'm just going to say code and test changes for deployment assignment part 2. Right? I've got that. All right, I'm going to commit that and I'm going to push it. And okay, that push. Okay. Now, what's good about this is, okay, I can screw around with my database here, right? And I will be okay. So let's see what we've got here. I'm just going to get rid of my database so it creates a new one. Okay, because we're going to do that on the server. Okay, so let's just delete this. Delete it. Okay, it's gone. Do refactor. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so it's gone. All right. So now, if I don't have any database at all. Okay, so let's start up manage.py. Okay, and let's pretend that we're on the server. Okay, what's the first thing we're going to have to do? Well, we're going to have to do a migrate. Okay, so let's just say uh, make migrations. Yeah, no changes detected. And then let's just say migrate. We're going to have to migrate everything, okay, including course info, but uh, auth and all the other apps. Okay, so that's how we're going to do the migrations. Okay, that includes creating the groups and the group permissions. That all worked okay. Okay, now, so that's a test for testing the migrations as they'll be run in the production environment. That's how we'll do them. We'll do them with the development server when we do it there. And let's test setting up the users. Okay, let's do it. So let's do a run server. And we're going to start up the app. And oh, you know what we don't have? And this is going to happen on the server as well. We don't even have a tester. Look, so if I go to log in my tester, okay, on this brand new database. It doesn't even know tester. Yeah, it's gone. All right, that's not going to work. Stop the server. Stop the server. Okay, create a super user. So we're going to say create super user. Okay. And we're going to say we want tester. We don't want to give an email address, but we're going to give our secret password. And we're going to do that again. I can't type tonight. Secret. Okay. Oh, it's only 3 in the afternoon, so I can't type this afternoon. And validate it because it thinks it's too similar. Sure. We're going to bypass that. Okay, now we can run server. Okay, now when we come back, it's going to know about tester, right? So tester, secret password. Okay, we're in. All right, do we have any users? No, we don't. Let's go look. Let's go see what we have. Do we have any data at all? I'm going to say that we don't. Okay. So let's go to admin. Okay. Do we have groups? We've got groups because we had a migration for that, a data migration. Okay, that's good. We've got users. We just have testers. We're going to have to add all the users again. Okay. How do we know who to add and what permission to give them? Well, we had a list of users and their various powers and responsibilities that we use for the authentication and authorization assignment. We just are going to use that. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Let's go down and take a look at the database. Okay, so we're going to use SQLite Studio. Here it is. And we're on the real EZU database. So EZU database right here. Okay, and it's always best to right click on that and say refresh it. Okay, so we won't be surprised to see that we've got groups because we saw them in the app, right? So if we go to group and data, well, there's our groups. Okay, what about group permissions? Okay, well, we loaded that with a data migration too. So let's take a look at that table and go to data. And we don't see it. Now, I've got to tell you that this is one of the greatest disappointments that I've had. This has happened consistently, project after project that I've done. I've come here and I couldn't find the group permissions. Okay, we just loaded them. Okay, let's look. Let's. I'm going to close the browser and stop the server. Okay, but we have a migration that just loaded the group permissions. And if you do a show migrations, okay, it's applied. Okay. Why can't we see it? Well, I don't know. I've had a bug with this for 3 years now. I can tell you what the workaround is. Just unapply it and reapply it, and now they're magically there. What's the problem? I don't know. Maybe the migration is deficient in some small way. Maybe it's a bug in the software. I can't tell. But here's the workaround, and we're going to have to do it on the server as well. Okay, so we're just going to say migrate course info, and let's back off to 60006. Okay, and then let's say migrate course info 0007, and it said it applied it. Now this shouldn't have any effect at all. It should be already done. But let's go back to SQLite Studio over here, okay, and let's refresh, and there they are, all 48 permissions. They should have been there the last time we looked, but they're not. So I have found that this happens on our development machine, and it happens when we install on the server at Python anywhere too. So this thing where we run the migrations and then we back off the last one and then we run it again, it seems like we shouldn't have to do it, but apparently we do. Okay. All right. So having done that, let's come back and run the server again. Okay. And here we go. And we're logged in with tester. That's fine. Let's go to admin and add at least one of the users back. Okay, so the admin is right here. And the users, we only have that. So again, I'm only going to do one here, which is going to be, we're going to add a user. And the username is going to be clerk. Okay, and then I'm going to give them their special secret password. If I could type, I'd be dangerous. Okay, save and continue editing. Okay, so they're active. They need to be on staff. They're not a super user. And the group we want to add them to is CI user. Okay, so we do that. Okay, and let's just add them all while we're here. It's good practice. So save and add another. We've got scheduler. Okay. Secret password. Save and continue editing. So yes, they're on staff. No, they're not a super user. They're in the scheduler group. Okay. And let's go down, save and add another. And then we've got the registrar. Okay. And they've got a secret password too. And save and continue editing. They're on staff, check that. Not a super user. They're in the CI registrar group. Okay. Save and add another. Okay, who's left? The coworker. Coworker. There. Got a secret password too. And save and continue editing. So they're on staff, but they're not a part of any of our groups. Okay. Save and add another. And then the only other one we have is sysadmin. Okay, we had that too. So they get a secret password and they do them. Save and continue editing. So they're member of staff and a super user and not a member of any group. And we're going to save and we're done. And so now we have all the users. Okay, so if we go back to our app, let's just go to our app. Right now we're testers, so we can see everything. Let's just log out and log back in as coworker. Okay, and they should only be able to see the about page. And that's all they can see. Okay, so it looks like we've done all of part 2, including 4 test migrations as they'll be run in the production environment. I think we did that. And test setting up the users, else they'll be set up in the production environment. I think we tested that too. So we're done. Are we completely done? I'm not. Okay. I'll tell you why. Let's close the browser, close the development server. Okay, that's gone. Okay, I've got a whole new DB SQLite 3 here. It has no test data in it at all. Okay, I've already created one for use here with a lot of test data and stuff. What do I really want? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in source tree, and you can do this on any Git client. I'm just going to go back to my EZU, okay, and it says I did 2 things. I deleted DB SQLite 3, and then I added a new one. Okay, and now I just want to back those off. I got to figure the way to do that. I'm just going to highlight them both. And let's see if I can do it. If I come down and say, now I have to do each one individually. So the delete, I can say, oh, how can I undo this? I'm going to pause here and I'll be right back telling you how I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm back. So here in my source tree client, it looks like here's how I do it. So these are my new, this is my new DB SQLite 3. So I'm going to highlight that. And I think the one to pick is remove. And I OK that, and that goes away. And then on the original one that I deleted, I right click on that and I say reset and then say OK. And that went away too. So I'm back to where I was right when I took that commit, and I've got the original version here. So if I run my server, and I bring up this and let me log in as a tester, and I think we're going to see I have all my data. Okay, so we've got instructors, sections, courses. This is before I deleted that. Okay, so uh, one of the interesting things that you can do with Git is you can do a commit and then do a destructive test like we did, which was to completely get rid of the database, and then do that. But then if you don't want to leave your development system in that state, you can just undo that with Git, and you're back to having test data again. Okay, so I think that's the bitter end for part two. I'm going to say bye now, and I'll see you for part three. Bye bye.